All right. Cool, cool. All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, Yahawashi, BAHASHAM, Racha, Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Greatmillstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And as you can see in the title, Bank Failures, a Push for CBDC. And I was reading this article, saw it earlier today, and I wanted to go through it, Lowell, and do a nice edifying lesson on it, as it raises some very good points here. Okay, which what do we know about some of the tactics that Esau Edom uses? Okay, and when do they use them? Because if you pay attention to how the elites interact with the common folk, right? They infiltrate a society, right? They demoralize them, they dumb down the masses, they hook them on bread and circuses, and when they have them to this point where it's almost like they're what's the word I'm looking for, sedated to an extent, right? Their cognitive ability is very, very low. This allows these elites to keep reusing the same methods, the same deceptive tactics over and over and over again, with slight changes here and there, and they'll keep on getting the people over and over and over again. So what is one of the main tactics they use? Ordo ab chaos, or order out of chaos, meaning that the order is preceded with the chaos, or the solution is preceded with the problem. So this is how they move. Okay, they present problems, and then they present solutions. They create problems, and then they present the solutions. But in the creation of the problems, they make it seem as though they are rather identifying existing problems or existential threats or things that we need to do something about. So one of the problems that we're now seeing is the imminent collapsing of the banking system, at least as is being made out to seem. And this is, as a lot of people are saying, due to the rapid rate hikes, okay, the increase of interest rates and the economic environment leading up to this point, which has now set things up for a bad situation. So as we go through this article, you'll see how the title correlates to it, from bank failures to CBDC. And in this case, we could look at bank failures and economic turmoil and financial instability as causes or problems, and then we can look at solutions, because these elites understand that desperation. See, the beautiful thing about desperation is it does not matter whether you know the truth or you don't know the truth. Desperation sort of performs either way. All right, for at least for the weak-willed, right? Because they can know that, hey, these guys are behind this and they're doing this because they want to force a CBDC on you, and yet you'll still be desperate enough to still fall for it, because desperation does not factor in what you know. It's dealing with how you feel, what you're going through, what solution is there for you. So eventually they are going to get to the point where they're going to start transitioning. You're going to get those notices from your bank. You're going to start seeing those commercials. Things are going to start shifting towards digital currencies. And if they need to speed it up, they'll just collapse the current system that you're on. It's sort of like being on a sinking ship, and they're trying to get you to jump onto this new ship. So what do? They crash the ship you're on, and if they see you're not jumping ship fast enough, then they'll start sinking your ship even faster. So now the physical dollar and cash is the sinking ship. And depending on how fast they want to migrate people to this new ship, the CBDC, then they're going to start, creating more holes in this sinking ship, causing it to go down faster. So they're going to force you to jump ship or drown. Anyway, as it says here, shortly after writing this, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis issued a public statement basically saying that Florida would prohibit any federal action to impose a CBDC on its citizens. Now, this is just my personal belief, but I think that this guy, Ron DeSantis, is a controlled opposition. All right. That's another tactic that they use. They play both sides. It's a puppet master controlling the right hand and the left hand that you see. But the concept of having a right hand and a left hand gives people the illusion of choice. And because of that, they don't look up at the puppet master because they're too busy going from right hand to left hand, right hand to left hand. Oh, the Republicans, they're saying this, and I don't like it, and I'm not a fan of the Democrats, but the Democrats are coming against this, so let me go and vote for the Democrats. Then the Democrats come in power. Oh, the Democrats are doing madness, and the Republicans are the only ones to counter them. Let me jump to the Republicans. And meanwhile, they're both really two wings on the same bird, two hands on the same body. So yeah, I think this guy's controlled opposition, but and because when they introduce new concepts like this, right? CBDCs, like one way they can introduce it is through opposition, meaning that they can go the route of introducing this to you as some regular announcement, or they can go the route of introducing it to you as somebody's very staunchly against it. The goal is that they still put that out there, that CBDCs are a thing. And in fact, there's such a possibility that we actually need to have people to stand up and say, no, we're not going to allow you to impose this on us. But they're not really going to get far with it. All right. So it says crypto becoming a top 2024 election issue as expected. On the one hand, you have Pocahontas and her anti-crypto army. And now you have DeSantis going all in crypto, anti-CBDC and anti-Warren. So as you can see, it says just in Florida governor vows to ban CBDCs in the state and says the government doesn't like crypto because it can be controlled. Now, it can't be controlled, which basically they want to have a centralized system that they can run. They see the direction is going into the digital. They want to be the monopolizers of the digital. But the thing about this is these central banks have so much power that they know and understand very well how to eliminate any roadblocks that they may need to eliminate. I.e., if they look at maybe the system that is set up in America and they say, all right, we may have control over the federal government, but because the states, they behave like city states, so they don't always conform to one authority. They kind of do their own thing when they see fit. That might be a problem for us because it's much harder for us to go and get control of every single state than if we just get control over the federal government and the federal government controls all the states. So they know very well what they would need to do in order to cripple or break down any barriers that may be in the way of implementing a CBDC. And so maybe today you may say, we're going to ban it, any attempts by the government to impose this on the state. But then maybe they might take the approach and say, hey, we're not going to impose it on you. But you're going to be so desperate, you're going to come to us begging us to implement this. So how do they do that? Let's say hypothetically, let's cause a big enough crash, so much turmoil. I mean, such a devastating economic disaster that everybody's going to be begging for a new system. The cash doesn't work. It's worth nothing. I mean, everything is just bad. The economy is just dying. Violence, crime is through the roof. And we need some sort of order. And they're going to say, well, we need some stable monetary system. And the only way is to transfer to the digital currency. And at that point, it's not going to be, oh, they're trying to impose a CBDC on us. It's going to be, if we don't adopt this new monetary stability, we're going to be that one state that remains in chaos. I mean, just an example scenario that I just gave there, right? So they're not worried about this. That's why I said, I think this is all controlled opposition. They just put that out there like that to seem like there's somebody combating it, and then that also gives them the intel, right, to gather data and see how many people are really against whatever it is they're trying to push. So they'll have one side push it, one side come against it. Then they'll see how many people align themselves with the side that comes against it, and they can gather information that way. So it's all strategic. Anyway, it says Monday saw the largest bank failure in the US since 2008 after First Republic went under, marking the third death of a US bank this year. Now, to show you another aspect of power that they have in by having control of the media and control of information, they can control the level of panic, the level of importance, the level of awareness on any given topic through the media. If they so wanted this First Republic Bank to reflect the actual danger that this monetary system is in, people would be completely panicking right now because they would be able to do that. And at the same time, if they wanted to mitigate and undersell the actual bad or dangerous position that we are in by seeing a collapse of one of these big banks, they can do that. They can make it seem like, oh, it's just another bank that just happened, or people barely even heard about it. So they have the power to do that, almost like to give life to a certain topic, to control the narrative on it, basically control the people's feelings. So you are scared when they tell you should be scared. You are angry when they tell you should be angry. You are ignorant when they tell you should be ignorant. So as it says, regulators took possession of the bank this Monday, and JP Morgan Chase will acquire the majority of the bank's assets and remaining deposits worth around $92 billion. First Republic Bank's stock fell nearly 50% after reporting a significant drop in deposits in the first quarter of 2023. First Republic's stock value tanked 97% on Friday due to fears of a bank run or failure, and the executives were silent on the health of the bank because they knew they were doomed. And also, what's happening here, right? You had all these big banks that were rushing to take control of this. So now you got JP Morgan, that's just one example, but you have these big banks that are consolidating and wiping out by taking over, and as they expand, these smaller banks go under. Not small banks, but smaller compared to these major too big to fail banks. And so as these smaller banks go under, these bigger banks grow bigger and bigger and monopolize the field. Now, what does that mean for you? You need to now, like, your options of banking are limited, right? So now as your options get limited, you only have a few main banking partners or whoever that you can deal with. You're basically subject to whatever they say. And you best believe JP Morgan is not anti-World Economic Forum. They're not anti-CBDC. They ain't anti none of that stuff. They are pro. So you should be able to see the writings on the wall. Anyway, JP Morgan Chase coming to save the day is not a good sign. All right, they make it, we found a buyer, so everything is all good. That's not the case. As a matter of fact, even right now, what was it? Just yesterday, Janet Yellen sent a letter to Congress saying that if they don't do something about this debt ceiling, raise it or extend it or whatever, they're gonna run out of cash the Treasury's gonna run out of funds by as early as June 1st. Even though it's possible that maybe she just gave an earlier date to spook them up real quick, but assuming that she didn't, well, they better start doing something quick, because I think they only have now about 11 working Congress days or whatever. So let's see what they do there. But they'll probably pass something last minute anyway. But that's not going to make their case any better, because now they're just, once again, extending the debt ceiling. And then people are like, you guys can't really pay your debt. And if you can't pay your debt, we're gonna start dumping your joint because clearly that means that we're not getting our. They made a statement saying, I forgot who it was that made the statement, but he basically said it is impossible for America to default on its debt. And the reason is because we can just print more money to pay it off. Right? It literally, he said that on the news. So I mean, yeah, that's interesting. You try that. Anyway, so it says all of these small and mid-sized banks are struggling with liquidity. The larger banks are gaining more power and influence. JP Morgan Chase CEO is nothing like the man who founded his company and actually saved the US from a banking crisis, apparently. So CEO Jamie Demon, that's what he is. He's just a demon. We're gonna call him Jamie Demon. All right, is a World Economic Forum member. Uh-oh, what's that? He's a World Economic Forum member? Oh shit. It says who fully supports the Great Reset. Oh, wow. Would you look at that? He wants the US to invoke eminent domain in order for where we at? In order for the government to seize your private property. Let's see what they have here for eminent domain. So Demon suggests property confiscation to combat climate change. Okay, why don't we start with the Rothschilds' property and the Rockefellers and the Oppenheimers and the DuPonts and the Gettys and these people, they have the most land and property. Why don't we start confiscating theirs? And while we're at it, let's identify if there's going to be property confiscation, right? Let's look up the word confiscation. We know what it means, but we're still going to look it up anyway. They think they're so slick, right? So it says the action of taking or seizing someone's property with authority. So you want to deal with property confiscation. Who's going to be doing the confiscating? See, you see how they like to word their stuff? So he suggests property confiscation to combat climate change. So who's going to be confiscating the property? I assume it is somebody that none of us agreed to vote on, right? So they are going to be the ones confiscating our property, quote unquote, our property. But if they're so worried about climate change, once again, why not go and go after the rich banking families? They have the most property. Why don't you go start over there? And that's why he's a demon. So it says democracy is under attack. JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon, who has been bought by the World Economic Forum, believes the US government should seize private property to combat climate change. Oh, but is that something that they cannot do? Well, let's see. Let's look up something. I think it was FEMA executive orders. Let's see. There was a presidential. See if I can find some of these. There was a list. No, not authorities. Nowadays, it's very hard to find that list. There was a certain list of FEMA executive orders. Let's see, FEMA executive orders. And it's not this. That if I can find it, I'll be very happy. But basically, there was emergency. Oh, let me put that at FEMA emergency executive orders. And let's put, was it JFK? Hopefully I can find this. If I can't, anyway, there was a set or a series of I think this. There we go. FEMA list of presidential executive orders, and there was, yeah, this was the list that I was referring to here. And where is it? Where is it? Okay, so we have here Executive Order 10999, seizure of all means of transportation, including personal cars, trucks, vehicles. That is cool. Seizure of all American people. Okay, that's not concerning at all. Seizure of all health, education, and welfare facilities. There we go. Seizure of all housing and finance authorities to establish forced relocation designated areas to be abandoned as unsafe, and then so on and so forth. But with this level of power, right? Maybe let's look up the um, this one right here, Executive Order 10999. Right, with the level of power this gives them, something that this guy, where's he at? This demon over here is suggesting is not something that's far-fetched. Okay, it's definitely not far-fetched at all, but it shows you the direction they're going in. They're not holding back. They're not holding back at all. Okay, so it says here, where are we at? To combat climate change, this is not an exaggeration. In his annual letter to shareholders, Demon stated governments, businesses, and non-governmental organizations may need to invoke eminent domain in order to get the adequate investments fast enough for grid, solar, wind, and pipeline initiatives. Once again, the article is linked in the description box, and you can check it out there. This article here, and then this has the link to this article. But as you can see, it says implementing socialism would be the fast track way to achieve the World Economic Forum's objective. You will own nothing and be happy. There you go. You will own nothing and be happy. Demon is jumping right to the chase. You get that, Chase? Because he's the CEO of Chase. Proposing state ownership and the complete abolition of capitalism. So that's just a little bit on that on the madness this guy is talking. But once again, CEO of JP Morgan Chase, which is out here consuming First Republic and growing its wealth more and more and more. People need to wake up, because before you know it, you may just think, oh, it's just a transition from one means of buying and selling to another. It's kind of like Zelle, like I have today. I can just send money straight here. It goes way beyond that. And people don't understand. And they never wake up and look into it until they're caught up in a situation where they're like, wait, how the hell do you know all this information about me? Wait, why is it that I can't transfer money or do this? Wait, they have the ability to do what now? Hold on, they can go into my account and take what? Yeah. And this is why they're able to do it, because people are just that ignorant. All right. Yep. That's true. That's true. Yeah. So technically, we're all slaves. You know, we're all their property, and they're really just coming to collect. But that's why we got Yahawah, BAHASHAM, Yahawashi. So let's see. It says these are his words, not mine. Demon noted in his letter to shareholders that governments, businesses, and, like we just read, non-governmental organizations may need to invoke eminent domain in order to get adequate investments fast enough for grid, solar, wind, and pipeline initiatives. So for this climate change yada yada that they're talking about, all of a sudden, let's get this straight. All of a sudden, some of the world's richest people just got together and decided, wow, after all the damage we have caused in the world, deceiving people, creating wars, controlling both sides, destroying economies, I mean, murdering people straight up, we care a lot. We care about the situation of the world now. And we're worried that climate change is going to be the end of our planet. So you know what? Out of the goodness of our hearts, we took it upon ourselves to start moving and implementing an agenda that we believe will take care of this climate change issue. So don't worry about it. We'll identify the problems and we'll tell you what you need to do, and then we'll make you do it. So we got you all covered. And I'm sure that's what they expect us to believe, right? They're the good guys in this situation. That's very interesting. So it says he is adhering to Agenda 2030 and believes that our freedoms need to be removed under the excuse of climate change. The need to provide energy affordability and reliably for today, as well as make the necessary investments to decarbonize for tomorrow, underscores the inextricable links between economic growth, energy security, and climate change. We need to do more, and we need to do so immediately. Notice the terminology they're using. Revelation 12 and 12, the devil shall come down onto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Why are they trying to move so quickly? Because they're running against the clock. It says, I will not be surprised if Jay Powell mentions CBDC this Wednesday just to get the public accustomed to the idea. All of these issues can be used as an excuse to implement CBDC as the safe alternative to traditional banking. And CBDC is just an entrance. You know, I mean, once they get that through the door, you know, and that's out here. You see these lines over here that are showing towards different currencies. These lines can go on infinitely. They can draw as many lines as they want, because CBDCs are a creation of their imagination that you are now trapped in. So it's like you're in their dream world. If tomorrow they say CBDCs are only going to be issued and function through a micro C hip, put the C and the hip together, right, being implanted in you, then that's what it is. And if you don't have it, your account is not going to work. If they wake up the next day and say, everybody that is in a certain jurisdiction or yada yada has to pay this amount of taxes, you don't get a say in that, because you are in their world, you are in their bubble, you are dealing with their concept. And with this concept, they can literally just programmable money. It's not solid, it's whatever they make it. It would be easier to implement if there were only a handful of banks working with the government. The US has never canceled its currency, but every empire, nation, and city-state falls in the same manner. The plans for the Great Reset are out in the open, and the World Economic Forum has infiltrated nearly every government cabinet in the world and bought out the bankers. The day will come when the government gives us a deadline to turn in our paper currency to be converted into central bank digital currency, providing them with complete financial domination over the people. So the day is coming. All right, it's coming and it's moving quick, and people are gonna find out very quickly when things flip on them. All right, now this is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 28, verse 5. It says, by thy great wisdom, which is this is dealing with Esau, Edom, okay, the modern day so-called Caucasians, okay, or Europeans, which usually when it talks like this, it's really targeted at their head. Okay, when we say Esau, yeah, we're referring to the nation, but it's really those that are at the head that are the ones responsible for doing this. Right? So it says, by thy great wisdom and by thy traffic hast thou increased thy riches. So clearly this isn't talking about every single Edomite. You got Edomites that are drugged up, you know, on the street corners. Some of them might be Jake, but some of them are actually Edomites. Clearly, what great wisdom and are they displaying on that side? Right? So by that great wisdom and by that traffic, meaning the business, right, has thou increased thy riches. And another means is through this CBDC, which they are not going to be subject to. Everybody is, but they're going to be the controllers. With every system, there needs to be a manager, somebody that controls everything. It says, and thine heart is lifted up because of thy riches. So those riches have given them power, and or a pseudo power that has given them that pride of deception. So they're thinking, well, we are on the verge of implementing this, and we can be the new God. Go, if you don't believe it, go and listen to this guy, Yuval Noah Harari, and the way he talks is he's echoing the sentiment of that these elites have. Right? It says, therefore, thus saith the Lord, because thou hast set thine heart as the heart of God. See, and the heart meaning, well, let's look into the word. I believe it's lab, which is, let's see what they have here. Labab, right? Which really goes back to the word lab, which is your mind. It says inner man, mind, will, soul, understanding. So they've made their mind, they've set their mind as the mind of God, because they're trying to play the role of God, and they've openly made these statements, right? That the God of the Bible is old and played out, and he was only able to build organic items. They're going to be able to build inorganic items, and yada yada. Pride. All right, now this is Psalms 55:21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. This is why whatever they come out with, you may think, damn, you guys never see the positive in things. You're so pessimistic. Everything they say, you have a negative for. That's because everything they say has a negative aspect. You just don't see it, because their smooth words are slipping past your mental defenses. But it says war was in his heart, meaning in his mind. Like the witch that I forget which what do they even call those things? Those tales, fairy tales that it was it Snow White or Sleeping Beauty or something, where the witch gave her an apple, poisoned her. So the giving of the apple was like a gesture of generosity, right? But what was the actual intent of her heart? To poison the chick. So that's how these devils move. They present themselves as though, what they're trying to give you is good, it's not bad, and it's to save people, it's safe and effective, that kind of language. But in their minds, they have ulterior motives. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. And the reason it compares them to butter and oil, because they oftentimes, when they introduce these things, they try to say it in a way where it doesn't sound threatening. The water, Snow White, it doesn't sound threatening, right? In Revelation, it talks about how they had the appearance of a lamb, but spake as a dragon, because in their heart they have that dragon or draconian mindset, but outwardly they speak as though they're harmless. They speak as though they're just here to help. They just want to help you. They just want to make life easier for you. They're looking for the best option for the world. Oh yeah, confiscating private property is the absolute best way to fight climate change. Matter of fact, let's start with the poor people. Taking away their money and the wealth. Yeah, that'll solve all kinds of problems in the world. Solve poverty by creating more poverty. That's a very interesting way to think about that. But yeah, basically this is what you have going on. Just another update on that. But watch the correlation between these two things. It's not these things are not happening by coincidence. The Fed is talking about a Fed now payment system. All these countries are moving to the CBDC. Is becoming more mainstream, and then all of a sudden the banks are starting to fail and go under. Big banks are taking over little banks. Interest rates are still being raised. So there comes a point when it all comes together, and that's when people are going to say, "Oh shoot, this is it," and it's going to be a whole lot of pain for a whole lot of people. Anyway, with that, Lord willing, this was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, Yahawashi, BAHASHAM, Racha Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.